You'll never believe what happened to me last winter. I can hardly believe it myself. My hands still tremble whenever I think back to that day. I'm 72, and my cabin sits at the end of a forgotten road up in the mountains. Physically, I'm alone out here, but that's not the truth. All my thoughts are with my wife, Anna, down in the hospital. This cabin is nothing more than a place where I wait. It all started on a morning just like that. The mountain air is a tonic, cold and sharp in the lungs. My morning ritual is simple. I stand on the porch, a mug of coffee warming my palms, and I listen. The forest speaks a language older than words, a tongue I've spent a lifetime learning. But this morning, the grammar is wrong. The jays, usually solitary thieves squabbling over territory, are gathered in frantic, noisy flocks. They dart between the pines, their calls shrill and panicked. It's a dialect of invasion, of something wrong pushing its way into their world and my world. As if summoned by the thought, a sound slices through the natural quiet. The rattle of the old rotary phone on the wall. It's a vulgar noise, an antique scream from a place of concrete and sirens. My calm, thin as morning ice, shatters. A cold dread, heavy and familiar, settles in my gut. My boots are slow on the worn floorboards. I lift the heavy Bakelite receiver, pressing it to my ear. Dr. Miller's voice comes through the line, thin and weary, stretched across miles of wire. He does not waste time. Metastases, he says. A few weeks, Eli. He mentions an experimental procedure, and the number he names is a fantasy, a sum so vast it has no meaning up here. I listen, saying nothing, my gaze fixed on the ancient, unmovable peaks outside my window. They've stood for millennia, silent witnesses to everything, but they offer no help for Anna. My face is a mask of carved wood, but inside, the foundations have given way. The mountains can mend a broken spirit, but they cannot pay a hospital bill. The helplessness is a physical thing, a hand closing tight around my throat. And before I can place the receiver back in its cradle, a new sound intrudes, a low growl that swells into the roar of a powerful engine. A black SUV, gleaming and obscene against the muted greens and browns of the forest, churns up the logging road. It stops, and a man climbs out. Marcus. He's tall, athletic, clad in expensive gear so clean it looks like it was bought an hour ago. He does not wait for an invitation, striding onto my porch with a smile that does not touch his cold, dark eyes. His hand is outstretched, not in greeting, but in expectation. I do not see a client. I see a predator. The embodiment of a world that believes ownership is the same as understanding. Elijah Vance? He asks, though his tone makes it a statement. I need a guide. He speaks with the clipped efficiency of a man who buys and sells futures. He talks about photography, about capturing the raw beauty of the high country. But his eyes are not on the landscape. They're sweeping the inside of my cabin, cataloging the old maps pinned to the wall. Looking for the dominant predators, he says, his voice casual. The biggest thing these mountains have to offer. His gaze pauses for a fraction of a second on a small cross I'd marked years ago near Widow's Woe Peak, a place I never go. And then he names his price. It's the exact number Dr. Miller quoted, Not a penny more, and not a penny less. He has not come here by chance. He's hunted me down. He can smell the desperation on me like blood in the water. I take his hand. The handshake is firm, cold, and final, like the snap of a well-oiled trap. While Marcus starts the engine of his ridiculous machine, its rumble a violation of the morning's peace, I step back inside the cabin. The air is thick with the scent of pine resin, old smoke, and 72 years of solitude. I pick up the faded photograph from the bedside table. Anna, 25 and smiling, her eyes full of a light I have not seen in years. A sharp, hot pain lances through my chest. I slide the picture into the inner pocket of my flannel shirt, a fragile shield against the choice I've made. My eyes fall on the old axe leaning by the door, its handle worn smooth by my own hands. A tool of self-reliance, of survival. Useless now. I pull the heavy door shut, the latch clicking into place. I have a sick certainty that the man who opens it next will not be the same one who is leaving. We walk for hours, climbing steadily. I lead him to an old stream, its water so cold and clear it hurts the teeth. For me, this has always been a boundary, a line between the world below and the true wilderness. As I step across the smooth, mossy stones, the very air seems to change, growing thinner and sharper. The forest becomes quieter. The birdsong that filled the lower woods fades away, and even the wind seems to hold its breath. This is their territory. Marcus, his head bowed to the glowing screen of his GPS, notices nothing. But I feel it. 1,000 unseen eyes, watching the trespasser I have brought into their home. On the second day, we reach the ice bridge. It's a natural span of compressed, ancient ice arching over a black, bottomless chasm. Stick to the edge, I tell him, my voice a low rasp. It's frozen to the rock there. Safer. Marcus scoffs, glancing at his watch. My density sensor shows the center could hold a truck. Do not tell me how to walk, old man. He says it with a dismissive smirk. He deliberately plants his boots in the middle of the bridge, where the ice is a translucent, treacherous blue. This is not about the path. It's about power. It's his world of data and machines asserting its dominance over mine. A crack like a rifle shot echoes off the canyon walls. The blue ice under his feet explodes into a web of white fractures. With a choked cry, he vanishes. I lunge, throwing myself flat on the ice, the impact jarring my old bones. My fingers close around his wrist just as his full weight pulls him down. His expensive clothes are instantly waterlogged, dragging him into the churning, icy river below. For a terrifying moment, we are balanced on the edge of oblivion, my body sliding toward the abyss. I dig my heels into a small purchase on the ice and roar, a sound that comes from somewhere deep and primal, and haul him, sputtering and panicked, back onto the solid surface. That night, the fire crackles, casting long, dancing shadows. But it cannot warm the silence between us. Marcus, wrapped in a foiled emergency blanket, avoids my gaze. There is no gratitude in his eyes, only a cold, simmering fury. He says nothing of the rescue. Instead, he meticulously dries his satellite phone, his movements jerky with humiliation. He had been proven wrong. His technology had failed, and he had been saved by the very instinct and experience he had mocked. For a man like Marcus, being indebted is an intolerable insult. I did not save a person. I saved something venomous. And now, cornered and shamed, it is infinitely more dangerous. Once his gear is in order, Marcus moves to his pack. He shoves aside a case of camera lenses and pulls out a long, hard-sided case of black nylon. And with a soft zip, he opens it. Inside, nestled in custom-cut foam, is a sniper rifle. It's a thing of deadly precision, all carbon fiber and matte black steel. He lifts it out, its weight familiar in his hands, and with a sharp, metallic click, he mounts a massive scope onto the rail. He does not look at me. He aims the weapon into the darkness beyond the firelight, as if he can already see his quarry. The mask is gone. The photographer is gone. Only the hunter remains. I did not pay you for a nature walk, Marcus says, his voice flat and devoid of any warmth. He turns his head, and in the flickering light of the fire, his eyes are black pits. I know they're here. Your stories about bears are boring. You will take me to them, and I will double your fee. He picks up the satellite phone, its screen glowing like a single malevolent eye. One call. The money is in your wife's account. Or it is not. Your choice. The blackmail is simple, clean, and utterly devastating. He found the one crack in my soul, and now he is prying it open. I stare into the flames, but I do not see the burning wood. I see Anna's face, pale and tired. I look up at the great, dark peaks surrounding us, the silent guardians of my life. My home, my sanctuary, has become a cage. I am a prisoner in the only place I have ever been free. And the ransom is the life of the very beings to whom I owe my own. I feel something inside me snap, a bond of trust and honor forged over decades, now broken beyond repair. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, I nod. The fight is over. The tragedy has begun. The sun rises, but it brings no warmth. We break camp in a strained silence. The only sounds the scrape of metal on stone and the rustle of synthetic fabric. I lead him upward, my steps now heavy with the full weight of my treachery. Each footfall on the sacred ground of these mountains is a violation. I guide him away from the true path, the one worn by generations of game, and into a place cartographers call the Devil's Labyrinth. It's a fitting name. The place is a geological snarl, a chaotic spill of granite monoliths and shadowed crevices that swallow sound and twist direction. The wind howls through the narrow passages, its voice distorted into whispers and murmurs that seem to speak my name. Anna's face swims in my vision, her smile a painful memory, her imagined disappointment a constant, silent rebuke. The faces of the silent ones, unseen but ever present, watch from every shadow. I shorten my stride, letting the ache in my 72-year-old joints become a valid excuse. I pause often, pretending to read the wind, to study the lichen on the rocks. It is a war fought with feigned exhaustion, a silent prayer that his patience will break before my soul does. We come to a place where the path narrows to a mere shoulder-width gap between two immense slabs of granite that lean against each other like tired giants. It is here I make my first move. I press my side against the cold rock to squeeze through, and in the motion, I let my body turn just so. My canvas shirt pocket, its button already loosened, catches on a sharp edge of stone. I do not stop. I hear the faint, metallic clink as my old compass, my companion for half a century, falls from the pocket. It strikes a rock below and skitters into a deep, dark fissure, gone forever. I halt, making a show of patting my pockets, my face a mask of contrived frustration. "Damn it," I rasp, the words feeling foreign and clumsy. I kneel and peer into the darkness of the crack, completing the charade. Marcus, right behind me, lets out a short, contemptuous snort. "You should have thrown that relic in a museum years ago. I have 3 backup GPS trackers, old man. We would not get lost." He shoves past me, his arrogance a palpable force. He places his faith in satellites and batteries, blind to the simple, ancient art of deception. He cannot imagine a world where his technology is not king. As we clear the labyrinth and step onto a wide, exposed slope of loose rock, the mountain itself answers his hubris. The sky, a perfect empty blue moments before, darkens with an astonishing speed. A solid wall of iron-gray cloud surges over the summit, and the wind attacks. It comes not as a growing gale, but as a sudden, violent impact, a physical punch that drives the air from my lungs and hurls a blinding sheet of ice and snow into our faces. The world vanishes. Everything beyond a few feet is erased by a howling, white void. Marcus stumbles, turning his back to the onslaught, fumbling with the GPS unit on his shoulder strap. He shields the screen with his body, but I can see the words flashing on its screen even from here. Signal search. His digital umbilical cord to the world below is severed. He is, for the first time since he arrived, truly lost. He is no longer the conqueror. He is just a man, small and vulnerable, caught in the teeth of a power he cannot comprehend or control. "Hut! This way!" My voice is torn from my throat by the wind's scream. Survival overrides betrayal. I know this slope, every dip and rise of it, by the memory in my bones. I grab the sleeve of Marcus's jacket, a lifeline of rough fabric, and pull him forward. It is a desperate, stumbling flight. The wind is a physical enemy, pushing, pulling, trying to pry us from our footing and send us tumbling into the white abyss. The cold is a predator, its teeth sinking deep into our flesh. We are no longer hunter and guide, master and servant. We are 2 insignificant creatures bound by a single primal need: to live. We lean into each other, bracing against the hurricane gusts, our shared fight against the indifferent fury of the storm, a temporary truce in our private war. My entire being is focused on a single point ahead, a memory of a place I have not visited in 20 years, an old hunting cabin, our only chance. We find it more by feel than by sight, a darker shape in the swirling gray, almost completely consumed by a massive snowdrift. I throw my entire weight against the door, and the wood groaning in protest. It gives, and we fall inside into a sudden, shocking quiet. I wrestle the door shut again, and the storm immediately clawing at the other side, piling snow against our refuge, entombing us. The air inside is frigid, thick with the smell of damp rot, old mouse nests, and the cold ashes of fires long since extinguished. The tiny space is a cage. The blizzard's muffled howl is a constant reminder of our imprisonment. We retreat to opposite corners, our breath pluming in the dim light filtering through the cracks in the walls. We sit in silence, two animals forced into the same den, listening to the rage of the elements and the loud, rhythmic thumping of our own hearts. The hatred between us thickens in the enclosed space, a poison with no escape. Hours pass. The storm does not abate. Marcus periodically tries his satellite phone, his thumb moving over the screen in a useless, repetitive gesture of faith. The lack of a signal seems to insult him personally. I cannot sit still. The claustrophobia, the weight of my secrets, it's too much. I stand and move to the hut's only window, a small pane of glass so clouded with grime it's nearly opaque. A thick, feathery layer of frost coats the inside. I scrape at it with my thumbnail, clearing a small circle. And then I freeze. My breath catches in my throat. On the outside of the glass, perfectly etched in the ice, is a palm print. It is gigantic. The palm itself is broader than my two hands put together, the fingers impossibly long and thick, ending not in claws but in wide, square pads like a primate's. It is the mark of something of incredible size and strength, something that stood right where I am standing now, looking in. They were here. They are here. The storm was not weather. It was a hunting blind. My heart hammers against my ribs. My gaze drops from the terrifying print on the window to the floor. A small, the chipped, square cellar door, the made of thick, the iron-strapped planks. It sits in the corner. But it is not sitting right. It is broken. The heavy iron hinges have been twisted and torn from the floor joists, as if they were made of tin. But that is not what makes the hair on my arms stand up. The splinters from the shattered planks, the jagged edges of the broken wood, they all point upward, into the room. The door was not broken into. It was broken out of. The thought is so illogical it makes my head spin. Why would one of the silent ones, masters of this domain, hide in a cramped, dark hole? And what in these mountains could possibly exist that would make one of them smash its way out with such frantic, terrifying force? This single, inexplicable detail is more frightening than the handprint. It speaks of a danger I have never imagined, a threat that even the guardians of this place fear. I turn, my movements slow and deliberate. Marcus has not moved. His world is contained in the dead screen of his phone. He has noticed nothing. The handprint, the shattered door, they are invisible to him. And in that moment, I make a choice. I will keep this terror for myself. This knowledge is a shield. It is a weapon. It is the only thing in this whole cursed affair that is truly mine. I walk back to my corner and sink to the floor, my mind a whirlwind. I am no longer a pawn being moved across the board. I am a player who has just seen the opponent's hidden piece, and the realization that we are not playing the game I thought we were is a cold, sharp clarity in the midst of my fear. The power in this frozen cage has shifted, and the man with the gun has no idea. The storm ends as it began, with an unnatural suddenness. The wind cuts off, leaving behind a silence so profound it rings in the ears. I push open the door to a world reborn in white. The sun is dazzling on the unbroken blanket of new snow. Marcus is galvanized. He wastes no time on wonder. He unslings his pack, and with a series of efficient clicks and snaps, assembles his drone. The soft, high-pitched whine of its rotors is an immediate violation of the pristine quiet. The small black machine rises, hovers for a moment like a hawk choosing its victim, and then shoots away, beginning a methodical, grid-like search of the surrounding peaks. I watch it, a speck of intrusive black against the brilliant blue sky, and a feeling of complete powerlessness washes over me. The mountain gave me a storm, a chance to hide, but the eye in the sky has come to peel it all away. Marcus stares at the tablet in his hands, his face a study in intense concentration. I walk to his side, my boots making the only tracks in the new snow. I peer over his shoulder at the screen. It displays a stunningly clear aerial view of the terrain we just fought our way through. A transparent, colored overlay shifts across the image, the thermal heat map. We watch as the drone completes its first pass, and then a second. The map remains a cold, sterile blue. There are a few pinpricks of fleeting warmth, a snowshoe hare hunkered in its burrow, and a ptarmigan hiding in a drift. But of large, warm-blooded life, there is nothing. Gorge after gorge, ridge after ridge, the result is the same: emptiness. A wild, treacherous thought flickers to life inside me. Is it possible? Have they gone? Did our presence, the storm, drive them away to some deeper, more remote sanctuary? Nothing! The word is a guttural explosion of disbelief and rage. Marcus spins on me, his face livid, his eyes blazing with fury. He jabs a finger hard into my chest, forcing me back a step. You! This was you! You've been dragging me on a wild goose chase from the beginning! You knew this area was empty! His voice cracks with the strain of his anger. For a man like Marcus, a man whose entire existence is built on control and victory, the thought of being outmaneuvered by a reclusive old man, let alone by the creatures he hunts, is an unbearable humiliation. He needs a target for his failure, a scapegoat for his wounded ego, and I'm standing right in front of him. The accusations fly, sharp and venomous, but I let them wash over me, my face a stony mask. I stand there and take it, weathering his verbal assault. But beneath the surface, a different storm is brewing inside me. It is not fear that rises to meet his rage. It's a fragile, a dangerous, and overwhelmingly powerful hope. If he is right, if they are truly gone, then my sin is without consequence. My betrayal failed. My sacred pact with this place and its guardians remains, by sheer luck, intact. His anger is not a threat. It is an opportunity. I can use this. I can feed his belief that he was tricked and that the hunt is over. I can convince him to descend, to admit defeat. I can return to my world and collect the blood money and save Anna. For the first time in days that have felt like a lifetime, I see a clear path out of this darkness, a future where I do not have to live with the ghost of what I have done. The relief is a physical sensation, a lightness in my chest that is almost dizzying. It is a false summit, a mirage of safety in a deadly landscape. But in this moment, I cling to it with all my strength. His accusations hang in the frigid air, sharp and brittle as icicles. I let them fall around me, a hail of venom that cannot touch the cold, the hold-hard knot of hope forming in my gut. His rage is a fire, and I must now become the wind to gently, carefully turn it in the direction I want it to go. I let the silence stretch, and let his heavy breathing be the only sound against the vast, white canvas of the mountain. I must choose my words with the care of a man crossing a minefield. One wrong step, one false note, and the fragile chance will detonate. I raise my head, meeting his furious gaze not with defiance, but with a deep, weary resignation. The posture of a man who has fought the same battle 100 times and has learned the futility of it. The mountain has spoken, I say, my voice a low rasp, imbued with a lifetime of listening to the wind and the rock. I am not speaking to Marcus, not really. I am invoking a power he scoffs at, but whose effects he has just witnessed. The storm was its voice, and its warning to us. And the creatures who live here, they understand that language. And they have gone deep now, into the warm earth, into the hidden fissures of the glaciers. They will not show themselves again until the spring. I hold his stare, letting him search my face for any sign of deceit. I offer him none, only the impassive, weathered mask of an old man stating a truth as plain and unchangeable as the granite beneath our feet. I take a breath, the cold air searing my lungs, and I play my final, most desperate card. I lay a piece of my own heart on the table, a calculated sacrifice. There is nothing left for you to hunt here. We can go down. I will give you back half the money. I pause, letting the offer sink in, letting his businessman's mind calculate the value of a partial refund versus a total loss. Then, I deliver the final, quiet blow. Anna, my wife, she can still use the money. Even half. I watch his face, every flicker of muscle, every shift in his cold, dark eyes. For a moment, a long, agonizing moment, I see him waver. The anger in his jaw softens, replaced by the hard lines of calculation. He glances at the useless tablet, its screen a blank, mocking testament to his technological failure. His gaze sweeps over the endless, empty expanse of snow, a white desert that has yielded nothing but hardship. Marcus Thorne is a man who despises failure, but I can see a deeper hatred in him now, a hatred for wasting his time. He is a predator, and a predator does not expend energy on a trail that has gone cold. To continue this fruitless pursuit would be an admission that the mountain, that I, had beaten him. To retreat now, to cut his losses and declare the venture a bust, that is an act of executive decision, an exercise of control. He can frame it as a victory over futility. He is almost there. I can see the decision forming behind his eyes, the mental spreadsheet being finalized. For one fragile, breathtaking second, I allow myself to believe. The tension in my shoulders, a knot I've carried for days, begins to dissolve. The path down the mountain opens before me, a clean line to salvation. The hope is so sharp, so real. It is a physical pain in my chest. Wait! The word is a blade, slicing through the delicate membrane of my hope. His eyes, which had been scanning the horizon, snap back to the tablet in his hands. The flicker of doubt is gone, replaced by a renewed, sharper focus. His thumb, which had been idle, now moves with purpose across the screen, swiping away from the live feed and tapping a small icon. A drop-down menu appears. An archive. "The drone records everything, old man," he says, and his voice has lost its frustrated edge, replaced by a low, humming intensity. Every second of its flight is logged and stored. Let's have a look at the data from before your mountain decided to have its little conversation with us. He selects a file. The designation is clinical, precise. Day 3, 1400 hours. The time is stamped just under an hour before the first gusts of the blizzard had descended upon us. He is no longer looking for a sign. He is hunting for a ghost in his machine. With a cold, methodical precision that chills me to the bone, he begins scrubbing through the recorded footage. The world below us rewinds in a dizzying, silent rush. He is a man who trusts nothing he cannot quantify, and he is now sifting through the past, searching for the single piece of data that will invalidate my truth and confirm his own. I watch the screen over his shoulder, a cold, heavy certainty settling in my stomach. The mountain had given me a chance, and his technology was about to steal it away. He moves with an unnerving skill, his fingers flying across the screen, zooming, panning, switching between visual and thermal spectrums. He is not just watching. He is analyzing, cross-referencing, looking for the subtlest of inconsistencies. His focus narrows on a section of the ridge we have not yet traversed, a deep, shadowed scar near the snout of a massive glacier. It is a place of permanent shadow, a wound in the mountainside that the sun never touches. On the visual spectrum, it is nothing but a dark, uninteresting fissure. But Marcus is no longer interested in what the eye can see. He isolates the archived thermal data for that specific coordinate and time. The screen flickers, the image resolving into a landscape painted in shades of frigid blue and deep violet. And then he stops. His finger stabs at the screen, and the image magnifies. There, deep within the dark cleft of the glacier, nestled against the cold, dead rock, are 3 smudges of faint, pale orange. They are small, almost lost in the vastness of the cold, but they are undeniably there. 3 distinct thermal signatures, their warmth a fragile beacon in the immense cold. 3 living things, huddled together for warmth, seeking shelter not from the storm that was to come, but from the prying, invisible eye that was passing overhead. Marcus turns the tablet, shoving it toward my face. The 3 orange ghosts pulse on the screen, a digital death warrant. His smile is a terrifying thing, a bloodless slash in his tanned face, devoid of all humor, full of a triumphant, predatory cruelty. "Did you really think," he hisses, the words tight and low, "that you could fool me?" The world seems to fall away beneath my feet. and the fragile hope that had filled my lungs is gone and replaced by the suffocating vacuum of despair. And the proof is absolute, is captured and stored, undeniable. I have been caught. I have been exposed. And in the cold, black depths of his eyes, I see my status change. I am no longer a difficult employee or an unreliable guide. I am a saboteur. I am the enemy. And he is a man who knows how to deal with his enemies. His rage is no longer a chaotic, explosive force. It has been distilled into something far more dangerous. A cold, focused, and efficient purpose. He does not waste a single word or a single motion. He strides toward me, and with a swift, brutal efficiency, he strips me of my gear. He rips the ice axe from my pack, its familiar weight now a weapon to be used against me. He uncoils my climbing rope, the 50 feet of nylon that has saved my life more times than I can count, now becoming the instrument of my imprisonment. Now, I drive, he says, his voice as flat and hard as the stones beneath us. And you are my insurance. Before I can fully comprehend his meaning, he has looped one end of the rope around my waist, cinching the knot with a vicious tug that drives the air from my lungs. He takes the other end and clips it to his own harness with a loud, final click of the carabiner. We are tethered, bound together by a 5-foot leash. My freedom is gone. My ability to choose my own path, to use my knowledge of this place as a shield, is gone. I am no longer a guide. I am cargo, a tool, a physical extension of his will to be dragged and directed as he sees fit. He turns and begins to climb, not down toward the valley, but up, toward the high, serrated ridge that separates us from the glacier. He leads me to a section of the trail known only to a few old hunters, a place we call the Knife's Edge. It is not the most direct path. It is, however, the most treacherous, the most terrifying. He is not choosing the route for efficiency. He is choosing it for cruelty. He forces me to go first, to step out onto the blade-thin spine of rock. The ledge is scarcely wider than my boot, a crumbling, ice-dusted path with nothing but 1,000 feet of empty air to the right. To my left, the sheer granite face of the mountain offers only the barest of handholds, small cracks and nubbins of rock that my stiff, cold fingers struggle to grip. The wind is a constant tormentor, a physical presence that seeks to pry me from my precarious hold. It shrieks in my ears, pushes at my back, and whips the rope that connects us into a maddening, unpredictable dance. One moment it is slack, coiling at my feet at a tripping hazard. The next, it snaps taut, jerking me off balance, a constant reminder of the man who holds my life on the other end. Every step is a negotiation with death. Every gust of wind is a test of will. This is not a climb. It is a slow, methodical act of psychological warfare. Each terrifying foot of progress designed to break me, to strip away the last vestiges of my defiance and remind me of who is in absolute control. We reach the crux of the traverse, a place where the ledge narrows to a sliver of rock barely wide enough for a single foot. The wind howls, a demonic choir in the abyss below. I pause, my body pressed flat against the cold stone, then my breath a frozen plume in the air. I reach out with my boot, feeling for a secure purchase on a small, ice-covered knob of rock just ahead. In that moment of perfect, precarious balance, I feel it. A sudden, sharp pressure between my shoulder blades. It is not a violent shove, not a blow. It is a gentle, almost casual push. A calculated nudge timed perfectly with a sharp tug on the rope. It is all that is needed. My world dissolves. My boot slips, my fingers lose their grip, and a choked animal sound is torn from my throat as I pitch outward into the void. The fall is a heart-stopping instant of weightlessness. And then the rope catches, snapping taut with a force that slams the air from my body and ignites a searing, burning line of pain around my waist. I am dangling, a puppet on a string, spinning slowly in the immense, silent emptiness. Below me, there was nothing but a swirling cauldron of clouds. Above me, there was only Marcus. My life is no longer my own. It is his to give and or to take away. He stands on the ledge, his feet planted firmly, and the rope held securely in his gloved hands. He looks down at me, and his expression is the most terrifying thing I have ever seen. There is no anger, and there is no fear. There is only a cold, a dispassionate curiosity. The look of a scientist observing an insect trapped in a jar. He is in no hurry. He lets me hang there, and the wind twisting the rope, and my body a dead weight in the vast emptiness. He lets me feel the abyss. He wants me to understand, in the most primal, visceral way possible, that he is my God now. The seconds stretch into an eternity. My mind is a white blank of pure terror. Anna's face flashes before my eyes, her smile a beacon in the terrifying void. Then, with a grunt of effort, he begins to pull. The movement is not smooth. It is a series of slow, agonizing jerks, each one sending a jolt of pain through my body, each one a reminder of my utter helplessness. He is not rescuing me. He is retrieving his property. My fingers, raw and bleeding, scrape against the rough granite as I claw my way back onto the ledge. He drags me the final few inches and shoves me hard against the cliff face, my cheek scraping against the cold, wet rock. His face is a scant inch from mine, his breath a cloud of steam between us. "One more trick, old man," he says, his voice a low growl that seems to come from the very depths of his chest. "One more lie," and I cut the rope. To ensure I understand the sincerity of his promise, he pulls his knife from its sheath. The blade flashes in the cold sunlight. He does not point it at me. He lays the razor-sharp edge against the taut rope that connects us, right beside the knot at his harness. He applies a small amount of pressure, and I see a few of the outer nylon fibers part with a faint, sickening sound. He has wounded the rope, my lifeline. He has shown me how easily it can be severed. The threat is no longer an abstraction. It is a visible, tangible reality. I can only manage a single, spastic nod. The last spark of resistance within me is extinguished, crushed into dust by the absolute certainty of his resolve. We complete the traverse in a silence that is heavier and more oppressive than any sound. My body moves on autopilot, my limbs obeying the primal command to survive, but my spirit is a hollow, empty shell. The ledge eventually widens, an opening onto a small, flat outcropping of rock, screened from the valley below by a natural parapet of massive boulders. It is a place made for an ambush, a perfect sniper's nest. Marcus says nothing. He shrugs off his pack and lifts the rifle from its sling. In the ringing silence of the high altitude, every sound he makes is magnified, each click and scrape a punctuation mark in a funereal dirge. The metallic snap of the bipod legs locking into place, the soft, precise scrape of the lens cap being removed from the scope, the final, terrible, and irrevocable click of a round being chambered. I slump onto a cold, flat stone, the strength gone from my legs. The journey is over. The betrayal is complete. I have done my work. I have led the killer to his prize. Now, I am nothing more than a witness to the coming execution. I raise my head, my eyes drawn downward by a terrible, morbid gravity into the pristine, snow-filled valley below. And my heart, which had been hammering against my ribs, stops cold. There, at the dark, gaping mouth of the glacial cave, standing bold and clear against the white snow, is a figure. It is her, Shadow, the female. She is not foraging for roots beneath the snow. She is not playing with her young. She is standing utterly, preternaturally still, a tall, statuesque figure of ash-silver fur, and she is looking directly up at us. There is no alarm in her posture. There is no fear. There is only a deep, unnerving calm, a quiet, waiting dignity. She is not hiding. She knows we are here. She is waiting for us. This is not a startled animal, a victim caught in the open. This is a guardian, standing at her gate, ready to receive the enemy she has been expecting. And in that frozen, terrible instant, the disparate, confusing pieces of the last 3 days slam together in my mind, forming a picture of such horrifying clarity that it steals the breath from my lungs. The handprint on the window of the hunting cabin, not a sign of a curious animal, but a marker, a declaration. We see you. The cellar door, smashed from the inside, not an escape, but a piece of stagecraft, a deliberately planted mystery to confuse and distract. The blizzard, not a random act of weather, but a tactical weapon, a curtain of white dropped to blind the drone and to herd us, like sheep, into the killing box of the cabin. And the empty thermal scan that followed, not because they had fled, but because they had used the storm's cover to melt into deep, ice-walled crevasses, their body heat masked by the immense cold of the glacier itself, waiting patiently for the all-seeing eye to pass before they emerged to take their final, strategic positions. It was all a plan. A complex, intelligent, and utterly ruthless strategy. They knew. From the moment my boots first touched the sacred ground across the stream, they knew. They watched us. They tracked us. They anticipated our every move. They used the mountain itself as their co-conspirator. They used my fear for Anna, my desperation. They used Marcus's arrogance, his blind faith in his technology, his predictable, linear aggression. I was never a guide leading a hunter. I was the bait, the lure, the trusted human face used to lead the monster not to his trophy, but to his own reckoning. The trap, so patiently set, so brilliantly executed, has just snapped shut. And I, the traitor, am standing right in the center of it.